Thank you very much, Ms. Renuka Ramnathji. Industry from the front.
Thank
And
you,
my
sir.
best wishes to you and to your entire team, management team, for the excellent work that you are doing. My warm wishes to all the participants and investors who have joined this VC. I hope all of you are doing well, keeping good health, staying safe. We in India have been very fortunate to have the support of your entire ecosystem all through the COVID pandemic. And some of the most challenging assignments that were before us in government, some of the most difficult situations that we faced during the pandemic were resolved through the good effort and innovative thinking of our startup ecosystem. So really the nation will always be grateful to all of you, the investors who supported our startups, the thinkers, inventors and innovators who held the flag high of the various initiatives that you took up during the COVID period. And while we do have a certain situation where numbers over the last few weeks have not been very exciting, fortunately, it's very restricted currently in one state because it's my home state, so I'm very concerned about it. But I do hope that given the Honorable Prime Minister's initiative to interact with all the states today, some serious measures will be taken and we'll once again get back to the recovery path, even on the COVID situation, just like the nation has, through its collective will and determination, been able to demonstrate to the world our rapid recovery, the V-shaped recovery, which to my mind is a phenomenal achievement for a developing nation with a large population and huge density of population to achieve. I also compliment you on the choice of subjects, Renuka ji, you and your team have taken up for today's initiative. I think while of course it's important that we should enhance the funding ecosystem for startups, see how we can get our offshore funds to look at onshoring. But the one most dear to me is your third item, to start building domestic funds and have some domestic pools of capital also. And I'm not saying it with the intention of closing the doors to international participation. That is, no, I hope nobody will misunderstand it in that respect. I'm very clear that if the domestic capital chases some good investments in the startup ecosystem, international capital will be much more comfortable and it will generate a lot of confidence worldwide. When they see that domestic capital is also going for our startups, investing in our startups, promoting and supporting Indian startups, I think an over-dependence only on international capital also is detrimental because a lot of good ideas would possibly never be able to reach international investors. Whereas domestic investors can possibly penetrate much deeper, probably also into the hinterland, the smaller towns and cities, where I do believe there's a lot of innovation, there's a lot of potential waiting to be tapped. So I really think you have picked up some absolutely outstanding thoughts for debate and deliberation. And I wish your conclave all success in your efforts. I will, of course, very eagerly look forward to receiving the recommendations and the outcomes of these deliberations so that my department can also pick up the thread from there and see what we can do to truly make this conclave's effort a success story. New India today is moving with more energy, enthusiasm, and an excitement about the future. While, of course, we are not yet through with COVID, but we can see before us a bright future. We can see 1 billion people aspiring for a better quality of life. And that is what provides opportunities. That is what encourages our young startups to look at innovative solutions to the day-to-day problems that exist in the country or even internationally. And to my mind, all of you, the private equity players, the venture capitalists, will be our partners in this new journey, will be stakeholders as we aspire for new horizons. And clearly, this partnership between investors, both in India and internationally, organizations just like IVCA, who become the bridge between venture capital firms and investors or pools of capital and the government and startups, all of us collectively can truly transform the future of India. Honorable Prime Minister Narendra Modi is very, very clear that it is the startup ecosystem which has the strength, the ability, and the agility to move things going forward. You can play with ideas, you can expand thought processes to bring in big data, Internet of Things, blockchain technologies. You can help us with artificial intelligence starting to play an important role. And possibilities are endless. I mean, I remember recently the Honorable Prime Minister had launched the houses which were probably made through 3D technologies and literally built on the spot. They are fast, they are efficient, and they were even cost effective. And a lot of logistics and all of those other costs can come down significantly. Time to execution can come down significantly. And we can truly take development to the villages of India. So I'm just sharing that as an example of how all your efforts are helping the nation in its journey initially towards a $5 trillion economy. But ultimately, I do believe it disrupts and changes the way things are done with a leadership profile in Asia. So if you look at India, the IN is our innovation, the DI is our disruption, and the A stands for Asia. So we are the innovators and disruptors in Asia. And I think we can define the progress and prosperity of such a large section of society, such a large block of mankind, that it can truly change the way the entire world will progress. Because if 1 billion people in India are successful in meeting the, let's say, the Sustainable Development Goals that have been set forth by the UN, it can actually move the needle of global growth and expand the horizon of India's engagement with technology, with finance, with so many newer and newer elements of human existence, that the stage is so large, the possibilities are so immense, that any amount of effort that you and I do are going to be inadequate. And I invite all of you to work with us in this partnership to help create demand, see how you can work in this democratic framework which works through the rule of law, and enjoy the demographic dividend which is there. It's waiting for all of us. But somehow we have not been able to truly take it to that level. The Prime Minister often talks about changing the mindset of the nation. Okay. In Hindi, it's called Soch Badlo. Soch Badlo, Desh Badlo. So we can really change the nation's destiny if we change the mindset of our people. And it's truly possible. Some of it through policy, some of it through education, a lot of it through public connotations, including getting rid of corruption and all of that. But basically a clean nation, our surroundings, our neighborhood, chooses a very, very important occasion like 15th August to talk about cleanliness. It's too small. But it has actually transformed the way we think. Today, a person is conscious of his obligation to keep the nation clean. And I see it in the railways. My railway stations today are clean. I can say it with confidence. Not only because we keep them clean, the people keep them clean. People are conscious that they should not litter around. People are conscious that if they spit, somebody will taunt them. And my own sense is once you clean up a place, then it remains clean.
Correct.
People will throw garbage only where they see garbage. And the same applies to all of us when we are looking at changing the ecosystem, the startup ecosystem. I very often fear that some wrong advice, some people, the problem starts when everybody starts innovating in instruments of investment and agreements of investment. That's where, Renukaji, the problem starts. And I would urge all investors, all funds, all private equity and venture capital institutions, please go down the straight path. Please don't try to look at policy or the law and find loopholes or find ways in which you can muddy the law. In some sense, sticking within the ambit of the law, but often losing the spirit of the law. And I've said this on more than one occasion. And that's where the problem starts. So when the intent of the law is extremely crystal clear, it's made public. And then when you're looking at ways and means to break that through finding loopholes within the law, that's when policymakers have to continuously, learning from experience, learning from the way people are misusing the law, try to keep amending the law. Then some other smart aleck person comes out with another bright idea to break that law. Then somebody in government will have to, per force, either amend the law or amend the policy or clarify the policy. And this is becoming a kind of race to the finish. And I suspect such race can only take you downhill, can never take you up. It may not be what you've called me to speak about. You may not like what I'm saying, ladies and gentlemen, but at least all of you know me, know that I like to speak plain, simple truth. And the truth is that unfortunately, despite our best efforts to try and help you in 100 ways, it's the few people who tend to break the law, tend to misuse the policy, which actually ultimately does harm for the entire set of investors. We've, of course, on our part, recognizing the strength of our startup ecosystem, that today India is probably the third or fourth largest registration, speed it up, give concessions to the startups, give them priority, give them exemptions in various taxes, give them support through preferential procurement. We've set up the National Startup Advisory Council. We on our part are willing to strengthen this ecosystem. We are open to new ideas. But we do appeal to all of you. Go for what the law means in an honest and transparent fashion. For example, I find a lot of structured transactions or structured deals with assured return at the back end, various kinds of instruments being created so that instead of venture capital, it becomes indirectly a debt. And these are things which are not unknown to all of you also. I think everybody is looking at ways at some minimum guaranteed return, some part of their investment giving them a structured instrument or return. All of these things only land up creating discontinuity. Then you don't get predictable policy. Then government wakes up to instruments if they are permitted. But stick to the spirit of the law. Stick to the ambit of the law. And I would appeal to all of you, even if a lawyer gives you a bright idea or a chartered accountant gives you a bright idea, and I'm mentioning this too because I'm both a chartered accountant, having done law though not practiced, or possibly some investors in the greed for larger returns or safer returns go down the wrong path. I don't know who is to blame more, one or the other or collectively. But I would appeal to you, Renukaji, use your good offices, use this conclave, you still have 2 more days to go. Let's sensitize all investors. Stick within the ambit of the law, the spirit of the law, and you can never go wrong. But if you are going to get carried away by advice, which may be technically within the 4 corners of the law, but beats the very purpose with which we have created that policy or that law, then obviously government will not be a mute spectator. So I would urge you, I'm happy to commit myself to a predictable and consistent policy framework. I'm happy to even look at further ease of doing business for investments to flow in or out. I'm happy to engage with any number of questions or concerns that your IVCA conclave may come up with. I'm happy to schedule a smaller group, or you can first work with the National Startup Advisory Council and then escalate it to my ministry. Happy to engage on all of that. And at no point of time I want to discriminate between Indian or foreign companies, except where FDI policy has a discrimination. Obviously, I cannot undo that. Where there is, we have allowed insurance 74%. Of course, the bill has to clear from Parliament. It's been introduced in the Rajya Sabha upper house. But let's build trust between investing community, startups, and the government and policymakers, the regulators. If we can build that trust, then your earnings will also be more secure, growth will be assured, investments will do well, and truly we can all work collectively with a common purpose where you make your good returns, decent returns, considering its risk capital you make. Obviously, you'll not get returns on every investment. So you make good returns, we are happy for you. But certainly we would appeal to all of you, stick within the spirit of the law. Do a debt as a debt, an equity investment as an equity investment. Don't go in for too many very fancy instruments. Use your ingenuity and your fancy thinking in the actual operations of the startup, in your ideas, in your innovation, in your newer way of doing things, in engaging with modern technology. But don't overuse innovation in instruments which then tomorrow come under dispute or create the kind of uncertainties which neither you want nor we want. So my only message to all of you, we are now looking at a guaranteed fund which will be launched on 1st April. So a number of projects to strengthen the startup ecosystem are either already on way or in the pipeline. I do hope all these efforts will work successfully. We have an open mind and our doors are always open to fresh ideas, fresh thinking. We are happy to work in the true spirit of partnership so that investors, startups, venture capital funds, all of you enjoy working in India. Help us become successful. In your success is our success. In our startup success is our nation's success. And collectively, we can do good for the largest set of people, as I said earlier, aspiring for a better quality of life. Thank you very much for this opportunity to convey my message. I do hope it will be taken in the right spirit and will help investors when they are making plans to invest in India to go down the correct path, not be carried away by wrong advice.
Honorable Minister, thank you so much.